Long days, pleasant nights, and welcome to Kingslingers, a Doof Media podcast journeying through Stephen King's Dark Tower series and beyond. I am your host, Scott Daly, and joining me this week, she's actually just been Pennywise this whole time. It's Kim C. How's it going today, Kim?
Hello, everybody. Fooled ya.
Duck and cover, kiddos. Why did you say that?
Dude, I loved it.
I loved it, but why did you say it?
I think he's perverting our Bert the Turtle.
I mean, he is,
Turtle is our sweet little turtle angel. And, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. This week on the show, it is episode 5 of It, Welcome to Derry, titled 29, Neibolt Street. We are heading back to Neibolt Street once again for a very brief amount of time before we go under it and back into the sewers. This episode was written by Brad Caleb Kane. It was directed by Emmanuel Osei Kafour Jr. And before we actually get into the episode, Kim, I did just want to circle back around to, we got a couple comments on last week's show that I thought it'd be fun to briefly discuss a little bit here. The first one we had was a commenter who raised a good point. We were talking about your brilliantly coined Temu Pennywise and how we don't think that the clown we had seen up until this episode was actually Pennywise the clown. We thought it was the Periwinkle, I believe is what Instagram has told us they were called. And we thought that clown was the one that we were actually seeing. And this commenter left a really good point that in all the pictures that were taken in the cemetery, all of the supernatural stuff mysteriously vanished from the pictures. But the only thing remained was the picture of the clown, which is weird, right? Like, why would that happen? Maybe because the clown was the only thing real in the pictures.
Oh, nice. That eluded me. Very cool. Great job,
clever,
listeners.
Very clever. Yeah. So that's more evidence that this is just Periwinkle, a.k.a. Ingrid, right? I think that's what we're just assuming, right? Ingrid Kirsch is going to end up being Periwinkle. Why she's dressing up as a clown and like frolicking around Derry at night, I don't know.
Have you met her husband?
I mean, yeah. That guy was way less friendly than he was in the butcher shop, that's for sure.
Absolutely. What crawled up your hind parts, Mr. Kirsch? Jeez, rude.
The other comment we got was from a commenter named DJ Nedelko, who's a name I recognize from Kingslingers and Flanagan's Wake in the past. But they actually had a little bit of a story for us where they knew personally the guy who played the priest character in the flashback, the one that the xenomorph baby Jesus burst out of. And they actually told us that the actor, was a little disappointed by the final cut of the show because apparently they filmed a whole lot more stuff in that flashback sequence that ended up on the cutting room floor. So you remember when we were talking about how maybe it needed to expand out a little further? It was like too long, but also maybe not long enough. And I think what we were feeling there ultimately was the fact that this was a sequence that was heavily chopped up and edited. Apparently there was a whole thing where there was like a native woman who was getting exorcised by this priest character. And also there was like maybe a reason in story for why a thorned baby Jesus was bursting out of this man's church. Like they actually set that up in some way that made sense. I ultimately, I don't know like that, if that would have made the show better, because part of the reason I loved Xeno Jesus was, how random and out of left field it was. Like it just like, what? Huh? So like, I feel like if we got that set up, it might have taken away from it. But I think it is good to know that they filmed a lot of this stuff and ended up not using it. What are your thoughts on all that?
I like that we have additional content potentially floating around out there, but it also gives me a little bit more grace for the writers because I'm not happy with them, Scott. So I feel I'm very much in teacher mode with these writers where I'm just shaking my head and I'm like, you guys know better. You know better.
Yeah.
Therefore, I love that there were alternate decisions and choices that maybe were made that hindered the original cut. I like that there's more. Hopefully we see it someday.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think what it does to me is that, like, we know, I mean, you and I talked after episode 1, we felt like that was an episode that just felt very, like, heavily mutated in the edit at some point. Like, it just just an episode of TV that felt like that. And now learning that episode 4 also had that same issue where they had to, take an axe to a significant portion of what they had originally constructed for this whole sequence. It makes me wonder, like, how much of the rest of the show is like that as well. To your point, everything that we look at and we say, from a writing perspective, that feels weird. Maybe it's because it was originally building off of something or building to something, and that thing got excised and this thing remains, and it just feels weird ultimately.
It makes me really sad for the Hollywood writers out there. I am broken for them. Oh my goodness, because they probably had some brilliant ideas and some really solid story threads. And then whoever is making the decisions just goes in there with a machete.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to keep watching the show with that in mind now, of maybe I do feel like there's moments in this episode where I think the same thing. Some the effort of like having to move characters around places and get characters from A to Z, and how sometimes they just kind of skip that. It just feels like I wonder if there was another scene in between here that explains, like, for an example, I know we haven't gotten into the episode proper yet, but like the idea that we end our time in the sewers with Leroy telling his son and all the kids to run and get out of there. And then we cut from there to Leroy being debriefed. We don't see any of the kids get out of the sewer. Not even Lily. We don't see her get out of the sewer. She's separated from the rest of them. Of course, she's got her protective dagger. So she's not got to worry about anything. But it just felt weird that we like jumped out of that sequence. And not like we never like did a falling action moment of like, okay, everyone made it out. They're safe. We can relax now. I don't know. I was surprised that just kind of ended. And then the only person we see leave the sewer is the one person that no one knew left the sewer yet, which was Dick Halloran.
Good point. I felt like the druggy part was also abrupt, which we can talk about a little bit later.
Definitely. Yeah. Let's take that opportunity and just get into it. So 29 Neibolt Street, episode 5. We are in the back half of the season now. Kim, what did you think of this one? How are you feeling?
Well, Scott, speaking retail terms, I think we're in the black. I like this one.
Okay, good.
I'm a sucker for a plot twist. I like a very suspenseful reveal. I'm happy to see our old pal Pennywise. So for me, this episode is not without its problems, of course, but the positive outweighed the negative, and I feel real good. I feel that this was a strong one and a fun one.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, no, that's good to hear. I went through a lot of phases with this episode. I actually watched this one 3 times because I am working from home this week for the holiday, so I could fit in another watch of this before we recorded. And I'm glad I did, because I went from my first watch last night, I left the episode pretty frustrated, and each subsequent watch, I think I've cooled off on my my disagreement with the show a little bit. I've developed a very new strategy here, and I think it's the thing that's going to keep me sane over these next 4 weeks. My strategy for watching the show, I'm going to call sure, whatever, and that's that's my strategy. So I'm just going to take the strategy through every moment. Like, for example, when General Shaw says, "Hey, I didn't actually remember all my memories when I came here. It was actually 4 years ago or 5 years ago when I took a special drug from my government, and that's what learned. I remembered everything. Sure, whatever." Sure, that's great. And I know the episode's named 29 Neibolt Street, but we're not actually going to do anything in Neibolt Street. We're just going to go right down into the sewers. But that means that it didn't actually matter where we entered the sewers, because it's all just the sewers. Sure, whatever. And then Lily is going to be attacked by Pennywise, but Pennywise isn't going to get her because she just so happened that the part where she got stuck was where the dagger was. But that doesn't make sense because he dropped the dagger while running away and she's in a dead end. So how would the dagger fall where she's in the dead end? That doesn't make any sense. But sure, whatever. That's my strategy.
Cheers, Scott. You're doing it. You're doing it, Peter. Good job.
And it just doesn't make you happier when you're just like, sure, whatever, that's fine. Let's go for it.
Yes, I signed up for a Stephen King life sentence. I sold my soul to love this man's work until I'm in the grave. happily signed my soul away. Therefore, radical acceptance is a wonderful thing at times. And I'm glad you fully embraced it. I think I was where you are around episode 3. I was like, Pennywise, take the wheel. I'm out. So I'm glad. I'm glad you're there, Scott. You're gonna have so much more fun.
Yeah. And like, look, I think that the honest thing that we all have to be truthful about is that Stephen King is like really silly and corny at times. Like just try to say the plot of the book Insomnia out loud without sounding like a fucking crazy person. Like you just can't. It's kind of an insane book. And I think, you know, for better or worse, the show is managing, I think, to channel some of that stuff. Like the government trying to control Pennywise plot, like we've talked about it. It's stupid. It is stupid. And I just want, like, when I clarify, when I mean stupid, I don't like, we've got a lot of comments from people like that say like, no, the government would totally do this. And haven't you heard about what the government did during the Cold War? And like, when I say it's stupid, what I'm not saying is it's not realistic. I think just like to use that thing as the cornerstone of the narrative of your It prequel, in my estimation, is stupid. But like, a lot of King plots have been stupid. Like, and it's not the plot that I go to for Stephen King anyway. Like, Insomnia is a wonderful book. It has a very, very silly story. It has a very silly story, but I love it because of the characters and because of the themes that it explores in and amongst all the silliness. And I think ultimately I could get to a place with this show where I feel that. I will say, though, there are still times when I'm really pushing up against some of the choices that I'm just like, why are we doing it this way? Why?
Very much so. I am right there in the same canoe as you, where you can only go so far because your whole heart and soul is like, this is wrong and stupid. This is wrong and dumb. But then you're just like, well, at least we got pretty colors.
Yeah, I mean, we've just moved so far away from what the novel is. Like, just to refresh everyone, and I know you know this, and I know everyone listening probably knows this, but like the point of the book is that we have all these childhood fears, all the things that in childhood you are afraid of, like from the simple things like monsters to the more complicated things like your own changing body and your parents and the world and adults and bullies and all these things. And Stephen King was like, what if we take all these things and we amalgamate them into one thing? And in the greatest irony of all, the one thing looks like a thing that all children should love, a clown. And I know some of our younger listeners hear that and say, no, clowns are terrifying. It's like, that's because you're living in a world after it, where like clowns used to be there's just a clown. Like Bozo the Clown was a thing you watched on Saturday morning on the television. Like that's just what you like. Our opinion of clowns has changed dramatically because of this book. And it's a book about childhood. It's a book about growing up and then having to re-experience that childhood and go through those childhood traumas again and recognize the ways in which that's changed and that never will change in you. And it's very complicated and rich and wonderful and beautiful. And that is not even a little bit of what this show is. Like, not even a little bit. And that's okay. Sure, whatever. We get to see Pennywise and he kills people. Like, sure. That's where I'm at ultimately.
Yeah. Your heartbreak is valid, though, because the novel is such an extraordinary thing, and it's probably going to still be read 1,000 years from now when we're all dust, which is a wonderful thing to celebrate in and of itself. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to let go of the beauty of the novel and everything it gives readers. And then we got Razzle Dazzle Disneyland.
Well, it's just like, okay, I promise we can move on from this and to something else, but like the idea of this house on Neibolt Street is the childhood fear of the spooky house that everyone in the neighborhood thinks is haunted. Like that's what it is, and that's the significance of it. That's why it matters to the story. And now it's just it's just a thing. It's just a set piece. It's just like, we're going to the Neibolt Street house. Okay. And like I said, nothing happens there. It's just a channel. And this is a problem that the movies had as well. At least like things happen in the Neibolt Street house, but just the idea that you get to the sewers from the Neibolt house, even though it's just the sewers still, this is the thing that I actually think this show is not just like a personal gripe of mine, but I think the show is actually stumbling on this, is none of this makes any sense to me. that like, Shaw tells Leroy that's like that house on that street, the tunnels beneath it will lead us directly to the 13 pillars. Like, no, that just leads you to the sewer, and there's like a lot of ways to get to the sewer, like, because it's just the sewer, and we know this for a fact in the show because they bump into the kids who entered the sewer from a different place. It's not like it's the sewer, but only this area of the sewage system, you can only get here from the Neibolt house. No, it's just the sewer. And I know the sewer is windy and mazy and all this stuff, yes, but it just like, it's weird to put emphasis on this place and getting in this way when it ultimately just doesn't seem to matter at all. And this is my frustration, is like, Neibolt house mattered in the book because it was the spooky house that everyone was afraid of on the corner. And yes, there's actually a monster in there. Surprise. And it's tackling childhood fears. And this is like none of this. Like seeing army trucks like invade Neibolt house. I just had to roll my eyes. I couldn't help it.
I really want the kids to get on their bikes and go visit the local city planner. We need some blueprints of the town. We could solve it in 10 minutes. We could find all 13, Scott. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand, and maybe the show will reveal this in the next 3 episodes. It'll make perfect sense, but I don't understand the logistics of traveling through the sewer to find the pillar. Like, where is it gonna, like, we haven't found the first of the 13 pillars yet, but like, where's it gonna be? What, like, and I mean, the cool thing about the sewers in the book was like, as they traveled through the sewer system, it was like this kind of maze of like overlapping over the year sewage design. And as they went deeper and deeper, they got to older and older sewers, where by the time they were getting to its layer in the book, it was like ancient, old, like otherworld Lovecraftian type stuff, like the tiny door they had to go through. Like, that was all really great shit. And I love it. And so like, I could see a version of this where they just, when they get closer to the pillar, they're just not in the sewers anymore. They're transplanted somewhere else. But like, I just don't understand the logistics of, we're going to go down in the sewer and we're eventually going to get to one of these pillars. And we're like, are they going to have to like break through the brick of the, or the pipe of the, I just don't see it. And the show hasn't showed it to me yet. And so like, I'm just racking my brain trying to understand logistically how all this is going to work. And I can't come up with anything.
So I have stopped caring. And I know that's a terrible way to phrase it. But what I mean is, I think I mentioned maybe in episode 1 or 2, I'm getting the Lost series vibes where they're throwing out lore. They're writing checks they can't cash, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is going to happen. They're throwing out lore all over the dang place, and I have a feeling they're just going to hop, skip on by it. They're going to hope we forget. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope I'm wrong, but when I get doubtful, I become a little bit cynical, Sally, and I'm not very nice to the writers. And I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna be a bozo. You're gonna be a bonehead about this. I don't trust you to connect these dots at all. I think you're just gonna leave us hanging." So that's sadly where I'm at. Is I'm in a more negative place, trying to dig myself out.
I do wonder if we're ever going to actually find the pillars. Like, that is going to be a plot. We know the government's plan is going to fail, right? It's a bad plan. We've said it's stupid. Characters within the show have told them it's stupid. And so like, I like, it's going to fail, but like, are we going to get, we found the pillars, and now I guess like they're going to send 13 soldiers to all pick them up at the same time and then just walk towards each other. Whatever. I just wonder if we're even going to get far enough into the plot to see that ultimately fail or not. I have no idea.
Me neither. I don't trust. So I think we might not, personally, because yeah, exactly. Everything that you're saying is completely logical and valid. And the word logic, I don't feel is well rooted in a lot of their decisions. Therefore, I'm like, I really feel we're going to get bamboozled hard, and we're just going to have to smile through it. I hope I'm wrong. But yeah. We're just going to have fun regardless.
Well, I'm just going to say, sure, whatever. And then I'm going to carry on living my life. I think the big thing I want to start talking about this week, though, is a moment in the show that like genuinely shocked me. And one of the things that I think is sometimes frustrating about prequel storytelling is like getting a moment of genuine shock is pretty hard to do because like it's a prequel, right? We know that at the shape of the ending of the story, and we've basically known the shape of the ending of the story from the beginning. Like we know which characters definitely are going to survive. We know which characters might survive and which characters probably won't survive. We know they're not going to win. Pennywise is not going to be defeated. We know the black spot's burning down. We know all these things, but we got this week to the reveal of who Hank's secret white woman lover is, and it was Ingrid Kirsch, which is we learned her last name is Kirsch this week. I was genuinely shocked by it. And like I to a point where I like caught myself like already complaining because like Hank hops into her car when he's on the run and I'm already rolling my eyes of like, oh, what are the odds? Did he get and I'm like already critiquing the show for doing this stuff. And then it just threw one over on me. And I couldn't believe how much I liked this actually. And what did you think about it?
Same, +1. I was thoroughly surprised, and I don't know why, because on paper you're like, oh, okay, that works.
Well, we know it had to be someone we've met, right? Because it just like that the rule of TV is like, and Hank's secret lover is some other character you've never seen before. It's like, oh, okay. So like if you did the math, like she's actually one of the more likely people. I just never thought they were going to go that way, especially since she's clearly being set up to be bad guy, right? Like that it's, yeah, wow.
It worked so well, and I agree in that reveal. I gasped. I really gasped loudly, and that was so great. I did not see that one coming. It was a real fun surprise.
I do wonder where we're ultimately going with it, though, because like I said, like we get the Kirsch name with Ingrid this week, which, I mean, once again, I think the target audience for the show is people who have watched the two movies. And if that is the case, then everyone now knows that Ingrid is at least a little more complicated. And I want to be clear here, like the Mrs. Kirsch that we see in It Chapter 2, that's just it. That is, I don't think, this is my guess, I don't think that is even supposed to be maybe an amalgamation from this woman that exists in this show, played by Madeline Stowe. But I don't think the Mrs. Kirsch that transforms into the terrible Kirsch monster is the Madeline Stowe Ingrid character, like for real. So I think this is, as we said, periwinkle. I think she's just a human being. She's a human being that has ties to Bob Gray, we know from It Chapter 2, and probably has some ties to Pennywise. And so the thing that's going on in my head when I think about how we are introducing this character, we are getting more of her home life. As you said, we see her husband chastising her about her steak, which, by the way, she's definitely not cooking that steak. Like,
No.
The kitchen is behind her, and I don't hear any sizzling on that bad boy. So she goes, it's almost done. I was like, no, it's not, Ingrid. Why are you lying?
Unless it's in the oven, Ingrid, of which case that is dangerous.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
But I think we're doing possibly a really interesting thing with her, which she is working for it, but maybe it's a little bit more complicated than that. Maybe she's like a reluctant associate or something.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot because I think in these first few episodes, we're getting strange vibes, right? We want to trust her, and then we feel like, uh-oh, maybe we shouldn't. And then we went back to trusting her again in this episode. She tells Lily, promise me you will not go down there. I thought it was genuine. I don't feel a lot of duplicity coming from Ingrid, at least in this episode. So I think reluctant accomplice might be dead on.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, she kind of flip-flopped from what she was telling her before. But I mean, I guess there could be an argument that like she's doing like the reverse psychology flip, like to whatever you do, don't go down there. You don't want to go down there. Like there could be some of that. But I think the thing I definitely agree with you on is we take time to show this woman is like under the control of a nasty man, like that her husband sucks. Like the way the camera shoots him kind of just appearing in the background, similar to how Pennywise sometimes will just appear in shots. we are meant to be immediately uncomfortable by him and their home life situation. That would be a really interesting play if she was just evil. Like if she was just unquestionably evil, why would we have that beat happen? That seems weird to me.
Right.
And then I just legitimately think she's in love with Hank Grogan. Like I don't think this is like part of the con that like Pennywise is playing 4D chess here, and like he's gonna make this woman fall in love with the black man, and then that's what's gonna set everything off. Like, by the way, I still do think the reveal of well, actually, I don't even know if Hank being in a relationship with a white woman is going to be necessary to set off the town, because it seems like it's already ready to pop right now. But that could still be part of it. But I just don't think this is like and even if it is like a Pennywise instructs you to go fall in love with the local theater owner for some greater multi-step plan, even if that was it originally. I mean, the vibe I got from the scene was that she's into him, actually, and she was actually worried about him. The only thing I'm unsure about in that hypothesis is it was definitely Pennywise that like attacked his bus and crashed it and allowed him to escape, right? Because he just said something hit the bus. I don't know what it was. So that seems to be setting up like a monster attack. So like if she's a reluctant assistant and she is really in love with him, I don't know how that squares with all that, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
Interesting, Scott, because I don't know why I thought this. I don't have a lot of context for it. I thought it was Turtle Power that crashed the bus.
Oh, that could be.
I thought it was like a benevolent thing to set him free, to reunite them. I don't, like I said, I don't know, but I felt like we had all of this Pennywise, we had all this bad in the episode. And then this Shawshank prison bus crash was out of left field. Absolute plot twist, came out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay, this must be the move of the light side. And it's subtle, it's quiet, it didn't get a lot of focus. So for whatever reason, I'm leaning toward that direction. I think it's Turtle Power.
Yeah, that might be. I mean, certainly what we were told is that if he goes to Shawshank, it's not going to go good for him. I think specifically about he's told the last guy didn't last a week. And so I think that would be a bad conclusion for Hank. I do ultimately think that Hank being on the lam and hiding somewhere in Derry is going to help instigate the rioting that's going to happen against black people that will end with the black spot burning. I think that's going to happen. But if that contradicts goodness setting him free, I don't think it necessarily does. I don't know. I'm in a really weird place with this one. This is one of the plot lines that I just unquestionably am just super into. I like all this. I really like, I mean, Charlotte continues to be awesome, and I love her at that moment. I guess seeing Pennywise as a cop hanging out in the door, just smiling at her, which was sufficiently creepy and required no CGI unless we count making that cop's teeth a little bit bigger. I thought that was a really creepy, wonderful moment. And yeah, I mean, like, I'm really fascinated by Ingrid. The only thing that contradicts my possible she's bad, but also possibly not as bad as we think she's going to be theory is when she goes to meet Charlotte at the end of the episode. So basically Hank says, I think there's someone else that can help us. He means Charlotte. We see the two of them connect. The way that scene is shot, she walks up and looks directly into camera. She looks right down the camera. And if you don't know, you don't look into camera very often in like scripted television, because looking directly into the camera makes the audience uncomfortable. It is just this really quick trick to make the audience feel like we are basically voyeurs, right? Watching all this stuff play out. And when the characters acknowledge us and acknowledge our view on it, it does a very specific thing to your brain. And she looked right at me. She looked right at me. And I don't know what to make of that. Like, other than it made me feel uncomfortable. And that makes me think, oh, we're continuing to hit the beats of making us feel uncomfortable and uneasy around Ingrid. And I ultimately, I don't know, like, why. Did you notice the camera look thing? Maybe that's just a me thing, but I rewound it. She definitely looks right at the lens.
Oh, I did not. I didn't really focus in on it that much, I think, because I felt it was an intense stare, but I'm like, oh, whatever. She's looking at, she's looking
Into
to
your
Charlotte.
soul. Yeah.
She's just really dead set on getting Charlotte's attention. Okay. So yeah, that was my whatever, sure. Whatever, sure. Okay. Crazy eyes. We'll move on from there.
Yeah. It's weird, and I'm into it. Like I said, like it is very surprising when one of these prequel shows surprises me, and that was a moment of like, yeah, definitely like perk up, like, oh, okay, and then kind of have to reformat what you think the show's doing with this and where is it going to go. Maybe she's just unquestionably evil in the end. I would be a little disappointed by that if that is ultimately where we go with the character. But we'll see. We'll see.
Same, especially since it's been so hot and cold with, and I guess that would all be a calculating move on the writer's part, but yeah, I'm with you. I would like to believe at this point in the show that she's multifaceted and, oh, maybe there's, especially when we see this very vulnerable, intimate side of her life, the secret side of her life, and this warmth toward Lily in her home with her creepy husband. And so there's a lot of data leaning toward, oh, maybe you're nice. Maybe it's not because your last name is Kirsch. We are inclined to go down the negative path, and maybe they're mixing that up a bit.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm pushing this so hard, because like the idea that the Kirsch name reveal was just kind of dropped in the middle of the scene in a way that like it wasn't played for like a dramatic stinger. And yet, like, if you are an audience member who has seen the movies, you now know exactly what that means, and have, maybe you've been feeling like we were feeling this kind of general discomfort with her, and you're not sure why the scenes have these certain energy to it, and you're not sure why you don't exactly trust her, and all these things, and then you get that, and it's like, but maybe the ultimate twist here is because they still have held the reveal from Lily, so we're still going to get the Lily moment when she realizes what's going on here. But maybe the ultimate reveal for us, the audience, is now we have been expecting this to happen and we're waiting for the Lily reveal. And then what the Muschiettes ultimately do for us is make it more complicated than that and say, like, it's not just that she's bad, she's trapped. And I would be into that, I think.
Same. I would enjoy that challenge for her rather than everybody just thinks, oh, you're the devil in disguise.
Speaking of the devil, let's talk about our boy, the clown, who makes his dramatic appearance. I can't believe we didn't start with this, because this is the moment that all 5 episodes have been building to. So much so that when Pennywise first appears on screen, like, it's like he's lit from behind and there's like rays of light coming out of him. It's like it's their money shot. They know it. They know they've been building to this moment. And I actually think the misdirect with Maddie, I really ultimately enjoyed. And I actually wanted to talk to you about this, because this is one of those things that, like, talking about a show week to week, episode by episode, is really weird, because if this show had not done the Maddie has been dead the whole time and this is actually Pennywise reveal in the same episode that they brought him back in, I probably would have been sitting in front of this desk talking to you right now going, this was stupid. It's totally unbelievable that he's alive. This is dumb. Why is the show doing this? But like, the fact that we introduced this plot element and then resolved it in the same episode means that all I have to say about this is praise. I thought this was really clever. I'm curious when you like caught on to what the show was doing, if it was literally the moment that he starts swinging around a pole singing and his head splits open, or if it was a little earlier than that.
Oh, it was right up until the end. I don't know why, but I absolutely whatever assured Maddie being alive. I saw him and I was like, yep, that's impossible. But hey, the deadlights are mysterious. He could have just been floating up there for a couple months, and he just maybe was in a hibernation state, so he didn't need any calorie. I rationalized it all, Scott. I was like, okay, yeah, it absolutely makes sense. He's alive. And then it wasn't up until he's singing his little Ring Around the Rosie sewer song, and then his head turns into a shark mouth. And I was like, oh my God, I bought it up until the very end.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I wasn't fully convinced, and like, I think I I think I said this isn't really Maddie before I like was like, okay, this is just it itself. This is just Pennywise. This is how we're gonna do it. But like when he was explaining how he escaped, and he's like, it hunts and at the night and sleeps during the day. And I was like, no, it doesn't. we've seen Pennywise around during the day like 16 times in the show so far. That's not true. And there was part of me that was just like, these fucking writers, they don't even know their own lore. But there was part of me that was like, why is he lying about that? And the part that really did me in was when he's like, I don't want to go back home to my dad. I'd rather be back in the sewers than home. And I was just like, no, you wouldn't. That's a wild thing to say. Like, I know your dad sucks and that's awful, and I don't want to minimize that, but like, there was a shape-shifting monster that was going to eat you. You would rather go back to that. I was like, this is that. I don't know about this kid. And I was just immediately suspicious. And then he didn't seem to be affected by the Valium. I don't actually know if he even took the pills, but he didn't, in the whole Valium tripping scene, he was not affected by it at all. And I was like, my hackles were up and I was ready to suspect this guy.
Our Pennywise is looking good though, Scott. He's looking fresh.
Yeah. It's good to see him. Like I know there's a lot of people that are very mixed on the Skarsgård interpretation of the character. It's different. It's different from the miniseries, and it's different from how he's shown in the book. But I've always liked it. I like not the part where he has like giant opens his mouth weird and has giant teeth. Like that's not the part I like. But just when it's just Skarsgård in makeup doing the voice, doing the performance, I've always found it was very, very effective. And I think that's true here. Like we joked about the duck and cover kitties thing at the beginning, but that worked. It's a fun thing to say, and it's a fun like immediate callback to like kind of the absurdity of Bert the Turtle and the whole duck and cover thing. He's taking that and noting the absurdity of it as he's a monster about to eat these fucking kids.
I'm with you. I have always loved the brand new Pennywise design. I love the costume. I love the color choices. I love the makeup with the upturned pitchfork. I love it all. I think it's great. Even the weird bunny teeth, it all works together really well. I'm a huge fan of the 2.0. I think it's great.
I just wish he wouldn't go bah! And then like run really fast and then get really giant laser, like razor teeth and do all
I
that.
would pay you money to do that again.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Oh my God, let me contain myself. Yeah, his little dances are wild. I love it's nuts. Like he really is nuts in ways that the Tim Curry Pennywise could never. And it is a little over the top in many ways, but when, like you said, when it's just him and his presence, it's great.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that like, as much as I loved his presence in the show, like the moment with Lily and the dagger at the end, I just kind of hated. And like, again, my whole stance is now sure, whatever, but like, I don't know. It's just like, and I know like it's the power of the turtle because she holds up her arm and we remind the audience that she has the little turtle charm on her charm bracelet, which she is wearing in the sewer. But just like, again, this is this eldritch, unknowable fear monster, and it's charging for her while transforming its teeth, and then just like it's so hokey to just like stop and have this MacGuffin that this goober that we're gonna pick up, and now, haha, I have the goober now. You have to run away, and I just like it sucks to me, and it's not like I don't know, like I felt like when the losers in the book and even the movies like. When they overcame Pennywise, it was because of some inner strength or character development or change or the strength of them together or this great moment, this earned moment of this is why I'm not dead right now. And this is just there was a rock. There was a rock right there and she picked up the rock and that's it. And yes, I know like I can hearing the comments already. It's like, no, it was the influence of the turtle. That's why, because the charm. And like, I get that, but I don't know. I felt like when you have the narrative of a book, like telling you why all these things feel like kismet and just like this powerful force working behind the scenes, I feel like that plays better when you can read that narration in a book, then it's just like we have one shot to a charm bracelet that has a little turtle on it. I don't know. Like I just didn't find any of this satisfying whatsoever to me at all.
Yeah. I think that the power of what the Losers Club in the novel, how they overcome Pennywise in this show, all of that has been hollowed out. And it's just the most simplistic, rudimentary concepts. A black magic rock stops the clown. And it's very, very kindergarten. And so the richness and the depths aren't there in this show, unfortunately. So you're correct there. It's hollow. It's a lot more hollow.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it doesn't feel as satisfying because, yeah, this is why I love the It 1990 miniseries. Even though there's hokey pokey parts where they're all hugging together, it doesn't, that's what the heart of the book was, is the power of them as a unit and what they've overcome and their collective trauma and all of that deep, deep, deep stuff. We don't have that here in the show, and that's the sad part, is moments like this pivotal moment where she faces him down and it's one girl with her turtle charm. No, it's the magic black dragon glass in the water. And it's fine. It's fine for entertainment purposes, but it's hollow. It's a little bit it's McDonald's when we would like filet mignon.
Also, Daniel, man, what a fuck up. Like she had to pry a piece of wall out and like there's a safe behind it, and then she had to unlock the safe, and one guy shoots at you 47 times and you just drop the thing into the water immediately. By the way, that colonel shot him with a handgun so many times, which is like, so okay, just the scene is Daniel is leading these people, and like the backstory of the scene is he's actually leading them into their deaths, right? Like they're going to go in and he's kind of there to make sure they go and get killed, and that will solve the problem for the children of Maturin, right? And he's got the dagger, so even as they all die, he'll be protected. So shit starts popping off and he takes off running. And without hesitation, the colonel just pulls out his gun and starts unloading his clip on him. He doesn't even know why he's running. Maybe he just saw a fucking monster behind him and he's like, come on, let's run. No, he just like immediately like, and I mean, this clip must have had 50 bullets in it. Like, it's just like, there's so many gunshots. That was a wild moment for me. But I mean, like, this is, sometimes I feel the show working backwards. Like we have a thing we want to happen, and then we need to get the pieces in place to make that happen. And so we decide we want to do the moment first, and then we construct the plot backwards from there. And I think it's like, we need Daniel to drop the dagger because we want to have this moment with Lily and the dagger. So like, how do we make that happen? And it's just, we kind of work back. Oh, well, he took off and he dropped it, but like, okay, why would he drop it? Why would that happen? Well, something's got to be chasing him. What could be chasing? Well, it can't be the monster because he got the dagger, so he's not afraid of that. Okay, so it's got to be one of the, so someone's going to just start shooting him, because like, not only does he drop the dagger, he has to get away and like quickly because he can't stop and pick it up. And it's like, it just doesn't it just feel like they're like solving problems in reverse? It's not a cause and effect change. It's not a and then or therefore. It's just a, we want to be here and we've got to figure out how to get there after the fact.
Totally. That's exactly what they're doing. They have chosen the moments that they want. They've selected the pretty shiny experiences that are going to be in bold colors. That's what and then they just figure out a way to copy paste, glue, stitch, and it's a hot mess express how they figure that out. Because yeah, Daniel, I didn't want to think of him as a dummy, but yeah. And then yeah, you as the viewer, he starts running and he just starts unloading bullets, and I just screamed in my living room, "Why are you shooting? Why are you shooting? This is not, why are you shooting?" Like over and over again, because it's so our favorite word, clunky. It's clunkaroo.
And the line at the end of the show that Shaw says to Leroy is, "These people, they will answer for what they led us into," as if they are putting the blame for the entire thing on the Native American tribe, which is a weird call for me, because like it's one of those things that I agree that the background and information of what Taniel and Rose were doing in that scene was that he was going to fuck them over. But like, I don't know if they did enough of a good job to make that clear to everyone in the thing. Cause like the reason why everyone died in the sewer was because they went into the fucking sewer with Pennywise, right? It had nothing to like, it's like, you asked me to bring you where the things are. And I was bringing you where the things are, unless what the show is actually saying, and maybe this solves our question we talked about earlier, is that this whole thing, that the pillars, that to get access to the pillars, you have to go down into the sewer. That whole thing was a dodge. That when he showed them 29 Neibolt Street, even though Dick was in his head, he was throwing out a red herring. I don't think so though, because like you figure they would have. Like the second Rose hears, because Shaw tells her like, we know everything, Rose. Taniel told us everything. And she's like, I doubt that. And he goes, Neibolt Street. And she doesn't say it, but in her head, she's like, fuck. So I just, basically what we're doing is the reaction to this is going to be that the United States Air Force is now going to blame this tribe for setting them up and leading them into death. But like, you went in the place where the monster that you want to capture is. Like those people, those two guys didn't die to Uncle Sam It Monster because of Taniel. They died because they went into the sewers in the middle of a cycle. Like I don't know if this is sufficiently communicated to the characters in the show.
It's not. I hated that line. I don't know what. And then like Shaw seems to have such, I don't know, not reverence, but there's respect for Rose. They have history, but yet he's using her, he's manipulating her. She's trying to do the same. She's playing the game and she tells him to his face. I loved their scenes together. She's like, you are dumb. You are dumb. You and all your military buddies are going to die because you think you could put a leash on this thing. You is stupid. Yeah. So I loved their interactions together. But yeah, lines like that, I shake my head and I was like, who allowed that? Who allowed that line? Because that sort of contradicts everything that we're doing with this character, Shaw, who seemed to be a friend of Rose, who they have love. And yeah, he's trying to get his weapon, Operation Precept, that he thought of 5 years ago from his potion. And so, like, okay, what? What are we doing?
That is one of those moments I know we made fun of it in the intro, but like that is one of those moments that is, again, it seems like we're predicting like Reddit and frankly predicting me like that we're like, okay, we were doing the line where they said they forgot. And like, I even said this at the time, is like, okay, you forgot all about Pennywise and Derry, but then you came back to Derry and they were like, oh, I remember all this stuff. But like, then why were you here in the first, like, it didn't make sense. And then they just kind of lampshaded, but like, no, it was actually 5 years ago. And you don't understand what happened is like, the government gave me this like super secret security drug and it unlocked all my memories. And it's just like literally just throwing a lampshade on it and being like, boom, yeah, this is why, don't worry about it. Don't think about it. I was like, whatever. Like that's a lot more effort than I think we actually needed here. Because like in shows that I'm really, really vibing with and just unapologetically loving, if something like that were to happen, I would just like, it would just pass me by and I probably wouldn't even comment on it. It's like when I'm struggling with some of the writing of the show, it's stuff like that pokes up. And it just feels like in this moment, they were like battling back those comments as they were writing the script, which I just don't love.
I'm getting like a real, I don't trust this family member vibe with this, with these writers. You know, like if you've ever had a friend of a friend where you're like, I think you've struggled with addiction, and this is not knocking anybody who has, but it's like they lie when you're in the throes of addiction, and it's like we're getting conflicting answers. I'm wondering if they're so excited to tell their fan fiction lore of it. They have carte blanche to just tell this story however they want. Mm-hmm. And so it's very info dumpy, Scott, with so many strange, really loaded terms that we have not only in this episode, but throughout the episodes. They'll just drop the word beacons, the pillars, they'll also say the augury, like all these things.
Discharge.
Good God. Good God in heaven. Good Lord. We're going to have to unpack that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like why are they doing these like giant crater info dumps and then we move on from it?
Mhm.
And we don't circle back. That's I'm trying to be positive. It's not working.
Yeah. It's so weird to me because I don't know why, like, listening to Mike Halloran, Mike Hanlon, sorry, gosh, these names. Listening to Mike Hanlon like recite the history of Derry and like recite basically the same thing the Children of Mattern are saying, which is like the cycle appears to be about every 27 years, and it's like this number of people die in this, and he even says in his journal that like it seems like the cycle is the motion of a cycle is it usually ends on one big event, which in this, I don't know if he uses the word augury in the book. I don't think so, but maybe he does. But like all that stuff in the book didn't bother me very much. But just like for some reason, a scene of everyone like sitting around a table, like all talking about its cycle casually, like, I mean, no one dying is good, but you know, this cycle hasn't been too bad. There's the 5-year-old died, but you know, relatively we're doing pretty good. And it's good news that the augury is coming soon. Cause I mean, it just, I don't know, that felt weird to me in a way that I can't quite explain.
Yeah, I like all the tribal stuff. For me, I'm like, great, you guys rule, you have all the answers,
Sure.
know, you have known this Galoo thing, but yeah, it's sadly, as wonderful as these native parts are, the script is so wonky that I don't think they're really able to shine as brightly because the discharge, WTF, that is a very loaded word, Scott, and not to be juvenile, which I could because it is hilarious. But okay, I don't know last time the natives were in a science lab with Galoo. I mean, this is a very anatomical, scientific word. Like we're talking bile and sebum and excrement. Yeah. So like what? No, what? What's going on?
So obviously, like what we're doing here is we're putting like actual quote unquote science to something that is explained in the story, which is just that it corrupts Derry. It's not just a place that it hunts and kills, but it also corrupts the town. And this is something we talked about last week, right? The thing that I thought the show was doing was the show was tapping into a thing that I like in the book very much, which is this idea that it likes Derry because Derry is Derry, but also it makes Derry worse. And it's this, I think we use the word symbiotic, right? This seems to just say that like, no, what's happening is he's shitting in the water and then they drink the shit water and it makes them racist and sexist. And that's just what happens. And that's just like, that's so lame to me. Like, it's just one of those world building moments that I don't like. Telling me that it is corrupting the town is enough. I don't need like the science supporting it. Like, I did not like that at all.
No, I wish that they could have gone about that differently.
Yeah.
And the augury is this giant term that's huge foreshadowing. So assuming we're going to have some bloodbath in the next few episodes, because apparently there's a bloodbath to cap the end of the 27-year cycle, which I guess we're coming up to for 1962, according to the Scott tribe.
We got a name. You're right.
we do got a name finally, and it's not the name Pennywise said in chapter 2, which leads me down a whole other rabbit hole, Scott. So the name that Pennywise used is different, unless I cooked it up and I'm crazy. So I'm wondering, is that a different native tribe that failed the ritual of Jude, and that's the tribe that just got murdered? Sure. Unknown. So that's where I'm also tinfoil hatting at this moment. But yeah, the Scott tribe with this information, they know it all. They know all about the glue, which I like, but it's not being executed very well at all.
Well, and I guess I have a general question here, and maybe this isn't fair, but like, for how many years does a group of people standing by watching 5-year-olds get murdered and not doing anything, like how long can we be like, hey, y'all, you need to step up and do something about this, right? Like, I get that their like their job and their holy mission is to keep this thing contained. That like and this is another sure whatever moment is we've created this thing that if it escapes containment, it's going to take over the world, and these are the only people standing in the way of doing that. Like I get that, but also like you know what it's weak against.
Right.
You have it in your safe, and like you're watching every 27 years children are dying and you're not doing anything about it. And it's just like, at what point do we start saying, you guys kind of suck too, I think. And that's not the thing I want to feel about these characters, but it's definitely the thing that popped into my head as they're like casually like checking off and being like, this one was a pretty light cycle so far. The oldest to die was 15 and the youngest was 5. And I'm like, 5? Like what? A 5-year-old died? And you're just like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That's just, I don't know. That made me feel weird.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. It's super cold and clinical. And then on the one side, it's like, well, I guess they're on the side of it's colonizer kids. So
I mean, sure, yeah. Like the reason they're in this place is because they sat down there and said, "This is mine now," and the tribe was like, "No, don't go there. That's the one place you shouldn't go." And they said, "Shut up, we're going here." So I get that, but the 5-year-old girl didn't colonize Derry, right?
You're 100% correct. Yeah, it is. It's cold. It's clinical, and this is what I mean. I don't feel like this with great power comes great responsibility, Scott, and they're really letting these natives down.
Yeah.
They should have better scripts. They should have a better foundation. And like you said, this is a huge pothole that completely besmirches the tribe. It makes them look terrible.
Yeah. 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 I mean, maybe part of it is just we don't actually see what it means to be like a child of matter and like guarding this. Like the one thing we've seen them do is that they're constantly spying on the military operation because they want to make sure they don't find the things that they're looking for. Like I get that, but like in a regular cycle when the military is not actively searching for Pennywise, like what are they doing, right? Like in the cycle months, are they, I don't know, roaming the streets or like helping like try to keep people safe and try to make people understand what the threat is and where the threat is and things like that. I don't know. We don't see it. So like I'm forced to conclude that they're not doing any of that. And that again gives me this weird feeling as I watch the clinical nature of their recounting of the stats.
Yeah. Yeah, dead on. It's sad. It's a sad thing to think about that they're just passively sitting by decade or cycle after cycle, because he mentions 1908, 1935. Yeah, it's sad stuff. I hope we get more info on that. Maybe we won't. I hope, but
I do. We kind of got off on a tangent. We were talking about Shaw and Rose, and I agree with you that I really love all their scenes and their interactions together, and I really love them as characters. Like as stupid as the military tries to capture it plotline is, I kind of loved the way Shaw explained how he came to this conclusion that he's just like, look, the question that has plagued me my entire life, my entire career is how do I keep this country safe? And he just seems like a person that like genuinely believes that and is like, he's not a corrupt like general, right? Like there's a way you could depict this character where he's just like completely heartless and awful and monstrous, and he doesn't care about anyone. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he's actively putting people in harm's way and like seemingly fine with continuing to do that. Like, I don't want to say he's a perfect innocent angel general, but like you could depict him way worse than they're doing, and they are making us feel these that like he's a person. And so like this idea of like my entire career I've been searching for an answer of like how do I keep my country safe, like especially in the Cold War times when these two countries legitimately thought that at any given moment we could destroy each other, and we are on the knife's edge, and it could go either way. We don't know. Every day we're going to wake up saying this could be it. We don't know. And a solution falls into his lap, and it's a dumb solution. It's a really stupid solution, and Rose is completely right, and he's kind of blinded by this real drive to do what he thinks is the good work of the United States military to protect its people. He's blinded by that desire to get that easy answer. But that's relatable, and it's human and it's real, and I just really, really like it. And it's a kind of a bummer that everything around it is so is so kind of stupid in my estimation, because I just like the core of the character, I think, is just really, really solid.
That's a good thing to point out for sure. I like that a lot. And yeah, it's well said. It's good to realize that his heart's in the right place and he is not a bad guy.
Yeah.
And that's always nice, because I think in traditional films, people in power enjoy to abuse that power. And I don't know if we have that with Shaw, which is good.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think ultimately we're going to see, like, I don't think he's going to have like a good arc at the end of this thing. Like, I still think he's probably going to die, kind of blinded by his own desire. But I really like the scene with him and Leroy when he kind of reveals the whole story to Lee, and Lee is just like, "You let me move my family here," and he's just like, "Well, I told you to stay on the base, and you didn't want to do that." And my response to that would be like, "Yeah, but if you told me there was a giant clown monster hunting people, I might have reconsidered. You didn't tell me that though. You just let me do it." And like, that's what his eyes say. He doesn't actually say that, but it's just like that's perfect, because again, Shaw has like the perfect excuse for this. Is like, I told you to live on the base. That's what I told you to do, and so he's rationalized it away. And another, I think, really great moment with Shaw is when he comes in to talk to Lee after his debriefing, and Leroy is obviously upset. His best friend has been murdered by himself, and he's obviously very, very upset. And Shaw comes in and is like, I know he was a good man. I do have some questions for you. And Leroy is just like, I don't know. I want to go home and be with my family. And like, Shaw doesn't like again, an asshole general version of this character is just like, no, sit down. You're going to tell me what I want to know right now. But Shaw is just like, no, yeah, of course, go. Like, of course do that. And again, it's just like, it's a more complicated character than I kind of expected the first time I heard what this plot was going to be.
Good thing to point out for sure. Oh man, I want to talk when you're ready. I want to talk about Paul Russo's death. I was moved.
Really? Okay. Explain.
Okay. Minus all of the strange camera angles that make it very confusing. I am a sucker for vulnerable moments when they're just looking at each other and there's friendship there's real friendship, there's real emotion. And I really liked his lines where he says, he just so earnestly, and he repeats himself for emphasis, and he says, "It's my turn." And like, between these two characters, that sentence is so huge, Scott.
Sure.
It's my turn. So I was very moved by that. And he says, "Make it count. It's okay." I also am made of cotton candy, so it doesn't take a lot to move me. And I love the actors we've got in this show. Their performances are very strong thus far. And so, yes, it was dumb in terms of how it went down, because you are correct there. There's some weirdness. It's not vibing. But when we're in the moment and it's close and he's dying, I'm like, this is effective. I am moved.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with the death itself. I do think it's, again, one of those moments where we built backward. We built like we knew in this episode he's going to shoot him, and then we're going to have to build, and then we build backwards to figure out how we get there. Part of that I don't like is this clunkiness around when the it monster appears to you, only you can see that, which is like a new thing that I've never heard of before. That like, and it feels like it was specifically constructed for just this moment to allow Paulie to see little Will and then realize that this wasn't like, again, it feels like we're working backwards. It's like, so he sees Charlotte, Paul doesn't see Charlotte. So that's how we know Charlotte is actually it monster. And then Will shows up. They both see Will, and that's how we know Will is not it monster. And that feels like, I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering the book and even the movie, but I'm pretty sure when like one of the kids is scared of a werewolf and it shows up as a werewolf, just all the kids see a werewolf, and that's not really how the it visiting works in this world, but I guess if I'm being fair, that kind of how is it has worked in the show so far. Like we saw it with Pickle Dad, we saw it with Ronnie's mother, like basically every single, well, not entirely, because in the theater they're all seeing baby, but that didn't actually make any sense anyway, so I don't know how to square that. And I guess the ghosts in the cemetery, they all saw them, but maybe it's just like kids all see. Look, I'm having to turn my head in knots to figure out this, but
I know.
We were all building up to a moment where Paulie can see Will, so he recognizes that Will is real. And then, yeah, I mean, like, this is the one directing complaint I have, is that sequence was executed clunkily. Like, I agree with you, the moment works, and I'm a sucker for a good death scene. You get someone bleeding out on the ground, giving his last words before going, oh, like that's I'm there. But yeah, like he grabs the gun, he reaches out and grabs the gun to point it away from Will, and then suddenly in the next cut, he's in front of it. Which is like, if you're thinking like logistically of like, if someone's aiming a gun this way and I want them to not do that, I just grab it and point it a little bit this way, and then like, it just, I don't know. I felt like they could have blocked and shot and edited that sequence better to drive that home, and that had the unfortunate consequence of taking me out of the moment a little bit, because I was like, wait, why he got shot? Huh? What? But no, I think I agree with you. Like, I don't care much either way for the character of Paulie. Like, he was a pretty bit character. Like, one could, if they wanted to, make the argument, why is he here in the sewer in the first place? Because like, it makes sense for Leroy to be in the sewer because he's got a superpowered amygdala. But like, they're pilots. They fly planes. That's their job. Like, there probably are better trained people. Like, presumably, and again, maybe this is giving the United States Air Force a little bit too much credit, but if they've planned this whole thing, then they've had probably a group of special forces people that have been training specifically for how to handle it for months, right? You would think. So why is Paulie down there? And the answer is because it's a television show and we need recognizable characters down there. And of course, because we're building to this moment. And I don't fault the show too much for that. I thought that the death was good. Like, I cared not because I care about Paulie, but because I care about Leroy. And like, I recognize this is a thing that matters to Leroy. So I think it's wild that the show made him shoot his best friend. Like, I just can't imagine how that's going to fuck him up for the next 3 episodes. Cause that's the type of thing you don't just bounce back from.
No.
It wasn't that Pennywise came up and smacked his friend in the face and killed him, and then he feels some guilt because, you know, he brought him down there. He was down there because of me, or here because of me, and he feels that kind of residual survivor's guilt. No. He fucking shot the guy. He killed him. He's dead because of him. Because he was the only one because he was about to shoot his son, and then the guy stepped in the way and took the bullet. So man, I don't know how you come back from that quickly, but
dark stuff. I know. It's gonna be heavy. I think that both Halloran and Leroy went to the edge in this episode. We saw it. It was really good.
Speaking of Dick, I love it. I love every bit of it.
Same. Scott, this was fire. This was straight fire. I loved it. The Stephen King nerd card was firing on all cylinders for the Dick Halloran stuff.
Yeah, so I think I've seen, so I try not to research too much on the internet before we record, but I've seen like 12 bits and pieces of people using the what's in the box meme from Seven, to the point where I think people are just like genuinely curious about, like, we've established this box that Halloran does not want to open, but is opened by Pennywise by the end of the episode. And there's a lot, I think there's a lot of confusion about what's actually in there. If anyone listening to this has not read Dr. Sleep, Dr. Sleep is kind of the establishing thing of everything in this Dick stuff in this scene. His relationship to his grandfather, the box in Dr. Sleep was basically a technique that Dick developed in order to shut away the worst ghosts that were visiting him. Like in the book, Dan Torrance is being still haunted by the Overlook ghosts, and they are still very real physical presences in his life. And Dick teaches him how to lock them away in a box. Imagine a box and then put the ghost in the box in your mind and then shut it and lock it, and it will be locked and they will not get out. And we learn Dick did the same thing to his grandfather, who was horrible and abusive, and then died and came back as a horrible, abusive ghost that he locked away. I think the show is taking a little bit of a different path with that. I think the end of the episode basically reveals, and Kim, tell me if you disagree with this, that it is not just his grandfather in the box, that he locked a portion of his power, his shine, in the box. And that has been now released. And that's why he sees the ghost of Polly at the end of the episode, because he sees dead people. That's part of his shine. And now that is unleashed.
Absolutely. That's it. That is
Okay.
it. I think seeing Polly at the end confirms that. Poor Dick Halloran. I mean, he had to shut away the fullness of this gift.
Yeah.
And try and lead a normal life. And now he can't. Now it's out. And now the nuisance of the dead, oh man, my heart breaks for Dick, because he's such an amazing character. And yeah, it's the fullness of the shine. It's the full power, the full dark, tragic, haunting, scary power of it. And he compartmentalized part of it to lead and or to be a normal person as best he could.
Yeah.
And now he can't.
And ultimately, what could the end result of that be? Because we know, like, Pennywise has been fucking with him. We talked last week about the very uncomfortable smile and action he does to poor stupid Taniel, and what that made us feel about him. And we talked about the theories around whether he's got a bit of Pennywise in him influencing him or not. I still think the answer to that is no. I still think that was all Dick, and we are just gesturing towards the darker side. As you said, I think the darker side of the shine. And the worry here is, now that part of him has been released, how that could be taken advantage of and how that could go badly. Because we have taken the time to establish that, there's a little bit of darkness there. It's not all goodness. It's not all light. There's a little darkness there. And now it's fully out. And maybe even not like he's actually controlled by Pennywise, but just manipulating him. Like, we can see that it can get into his head, right? That it has the ability to get into his head and access the things that make him the most scared and the most uncomfortable. Like, Kim, the scenes with his grandfather were just so fucking good. Like, even the way they shot the scene, like Dick is on the floor, and so he's technically in this scene a child, like he's reliving a childhood memory essentially. And so the way they shoot him on the floor and his grandfather towers over him, and this height differential really emphasizes the power this man has over him. It's all so good, and you feel so much for the character. And like, I just like, this is the most inventive thing they've come up with in the show, is everything with Dick. And I just like, I could watch it for just this alone.
Totally. It is so strong. It's my favorite part of the episode. I think it is such a triumphant execution. Like you said, the way they filmed it, and just for readers of Dr. Sleep, you know how awful the grandfather is.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that the grandma is they're all in this confined space. And oh man, it's chilling what the grandfather says. And he says, power like this needs to be used. And I think that's where they might be going with that, is Pennywise, like all supernatural entities, it seems like they gravitate toward the shine. And so what I'm unclear on is, I think that Glue is just an eater. He's just a harvester, like he's an eater of worlds. He says this in the novel, I am an eater of worlds. And so I wonder if they're going to keep that integrity. Like, he's just an eater, and he wants to digest that power, take it on. He wants to absorb it. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, what I'm interested to see is ultimately like how this ties into the plot that we know we're racing to, right? We're racing to the black spot. This is a moment that's going to happen. I don't know if it'll be
Right.
next episode or the episode after that, but it's coming. And how do we tie that, the augury event of the cycle, which is the black spot, to whatever's going on with Dick, and how do we wrap that up in all this is something I'm kind of really interested to discover. Because like, yeah, I mean, like, I think the danger is there, the threat is there, the worry is there. um I don't know, we'll see.
It's a great question. They got a lot to juggle in those final episodes, but you're right. The augury is definitely going to be the black spot. It has to be.
Yeah.
So that works. That tracks. I missed that completely. I think I'm really like, I'm not trying. I don't know if I'm pausing myself to not think ahead because I'm like, oh, it'll probably get screwed up. So I'm just like, just be present, be in the present moment. But no, that works really, really well. Yeah, I'm wondering how it's all going to work with what Dick is already going to be tied to with the black spot, this augury, and then yeah, they got their work cut out for them. Those are some spinning plates.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we like, there's a lot of characters in this show, right? This is the reason we spend 2 hours every week talking about the show, is because there's so many different characters, and they've all got their plot lines and their arcs. And I mean, we haven't even really talked about the kids yet. We talked about Maddie, but we haven't talked about the rest of the kids in this episode yet, which there's definitely stuff to talk about there. So yeah, we've got a lot to do. 3 episodes left to do it. I mean, 3 hours is a long time. That's like a long movie, so there's plenty of time. But yeah, I'm really curious how I mean, the Dick plotline is the one I'm the most invested in, and so
Yeah.
that is the one I'm most curious to see. And of course, like, if we're going to do the black spot in a way that it resembles the novel at all, we know that Dick is there, right? He's there in the moment, and he is actually key to saving people. I think specifically he saves Leroy Hanlon. Like, I think that's like, we learned that Lee is saved because of Dick Halloran, and because of Dick Halloran's shine, because Dick reacts faster than anyone else, because he kind of senses it coming. So I would be surprised if we don't get back to that central idea as well. I just don't know where this whole complicated second piece of like how the opening of the box is going to complicate that, and like, are we supposed to be as worried? Like, are we supposed to be worried for Dick, or worried of Dick? Like, like,
Yeah.
like, am I meant to be afraid for him or of him? And I think
Right.
the answer is a little bit of both right now.
Do you think people who have not read Doctor Sleep are the ones who are fixated on what's in the box, whereas readers were like, oh, well, who cares? We're on to other things.
I mean, I think probably it is an interesting choice, because like, the show does not spend too much time like explaining it. Like, I think you can maybe leap to conclusions, but I think the conclusions you leap to are predicated on the fact that you've read Doctor Sleep and know generally that the box is like a thing that someone builds in their mind to lock stuff away in. And yes, in Doctor Sleep, you created a different box for every ghost, and you put a box in a specific ghost, or a ghost in a specific box, and that's how it worked in the novel. And it seems like in this version of the story, just like, he's putting the ability to see ghosts in a box, and it's like, my grandfather is haunting me, and it's freaking me out, and I want to deal with it. And instead of putting grandpa in the box, putting the ability, like the portion of the shine that allows him to have those experiences, thrown in the box. So yeah, I mean, I think I watched the episode like a couple times, and I was really paying attention to this scene, because it does tell you everything you need to know technically, but it goes through it very quickly. And it's like, it's in the middle of like Dick losing his mind, and his grandmother yelling at him, and his like to protect himself, and his grandpa like screaming at him and saying nasty things to him. And so I don't really fault people for, if you don't have the background from Doctor Sleep, you just know there's a box. Dick doesn't want it open. It gets open by the end of the episode. What does that mean? I think that's a perfectly fine conclusion to have. It's interesting because, again, like, I think the target audience of this is just people who have seen the two movies. And so
Yeah.
like, I don't think they went into the scene with the expected knowledge of you, the viewer, are going to know about Dr. Sleep. No. So I don't know. Like, I guess it'd be fair to say it was a little confusing, for like the average viewer, maybe. I don't know.
I felt very special as a King reader. I'm like, oh wow, this is an Easter egg just for me. And I liked that. I like that feeling for all the constant readers out there because it really does feel special. However, it does alienate those who aren't in the Doctor Sleep. No. However, I don't know. If you saw Flanagan's film, you should be okay.
Yeah,
You should
and if
be
you
good.
haven't seen Flanagan's film, what the fuck are you doing?
Truly. Let's remedy that. Director's cut.
Oh yeah. So much better.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about the kids.
Do you take 3 benzos?
Holy shit. Holy shit. I went to the effort of like Googling how much a 12-year-old weighs. And it's like, I think 89 to 91 pounds is like smack dab in the middle of the average. And I'm just like, 3 doses, you are gone. You're going to be gone.
Yeah.
Absolutely gone. Like, so I thought this was fun. Like, this is a fun we talked, I think, positively about this last week because I think it is just this very natural, like childish problem solving thing of like, we say it feeds on fear. We had a little bit of a critique on how quickly they gathered that knowledge, but okay, they have it now. What do? Well, we got a pill and it makes you not afraid of things anymore. So sure. And why take 1 when you could take 3? and I did really like the scene where they're all high and like, of course, I love Rich and I love Marge, and I thought that scene was just absolutely delightful. Your hands are so soft, like the stomach of, like, what do you say, like the belly of a cat or something?
Yeah. Yeah, like a kitten's belly.
Oh my god, it
was precious.
All great, I guess. And you already kind of alluded to this, but like the weird part about it is it just like we have that one scene and then it's over and then it just ends, and the next time we see the kids, they're not floating anymore. There's not even a moment where anyone goes, oh shit, that didn't work.
Right. Yes, for our scientific experiment, where are the results? There was no conclusion, which I was sad about. I'm not surprised though. I think it was a very lighthearted comedic moment, which it was fun. Yeah. It was so effective. I thought it was so charming. I laughed the whole time because everybody knows 2 Xanax, you are down for the count. 3, you are going to drown in that gray water. You are going to be dead.
I like laughed out loud when she said, let's take 3. And it's just like, my mom eats them like M&M's, so it's fine. It's like, your mom weighs probably, she's about 50 pounds on you, if not more. Yeah. And then Marge in the background, like, yeah, she probably would have been dead by now. This is great, kids. Just keep doing what you're doing.
They are so sweet. I loved it. I liked everything about it. I felt like it was too short, and I understand there was other things going on, but it almost felt it was a little bit of a throwaway, and it was just a charming throwaway, it's fine. It's fine.
I liked it for bringing back the whole Rich has a crush on Marge thing, because the one thing about the entrance of Marge into the Losers Club that I thought was a little bit weird is that like we didn't do any like cuts to Rich at his reaction of her being there. Like we had this like over the top comedic like slow-mo needle drop moment where he sees her like walking through the hall the first time, right? And then she shows up and she's part of the group now, and we never stopped to get any kind of reaction from Rich from that moment. And I felt that was a little weird. And I was like, what are we doing? We're not picking up that plot beat. And then we did it through the drug, the benzo scene. So like I liked it. I liked it a lot. Yeah, I agree with you. Like the weird part was how it would just it resolved. And I mean, like if you wanna like actually make an argument, you could be like, well, Maddie is Pennywise and knows he cannot attack them while they're high on this drug. So he's just going to lead them around the sewer until it wears off. And that's what he did. Right. I mean, that's the explanation you could give it to make it make sense. But in the beat to beat storytelling moments, it felt like we did that and then it was gone. And like moments later it was over and we've just moved on to something else.
Do you think Margie is good forever now, Scott? Is she like one-eyed Margie is on the Jedi side now?
I mean, you lose one eye, you gain one soul. You know what I mean?
I like it.
I think so. Like, so we were really curious what we were going to do with this at the end of last week's episode. The one part I didn't like about it was that like Lily gets sent to Juniper Hill for a weekend for like breaking a pickle jar in the grocery store. And in this scene, she's standing over a woman who has just been stabbed in the eye with the instrument that stabbed her in an eye in her hand. And like, they just send her home. She just goes home to the point where like, not only did they just send her home, but she isn't even made aware that Marge didn't say it was her until she goes to the hospital to see Marge and talk to her herself. Like there's a scene where Lily says like, the police probably think I did it. And I was like, almost certainly, Lily, but that's how are you here? I don't know. I just thought that was a little weird, but I really liked the scene between Lily and Marge. I think that the girl who plays Marge is a very, very good actress. Like, she killed it in that scene. I really liked it there. And I mean, I like her. Like, I think it's interesting how much the show really leaned into making us hate her. I mean, maybe the ultimate goal is just like this face turn, like feels satisfying, but it is like they really wanted us to dislike her, and then she's come completely around now. So maybe we haven't seen the full scope of what this thing is quite yet, but no, I'm glad she's in the group. And apparently her eye it wasn't that bad.
Right? I thought she was fully one-eyed Marge, but to be determined, she might be okay.
I didn't know for sure, but the show made it seem like she could recover her sight in that eye, which was very surprising to me. Do you think Lily saw the giant worms poking out of her eyes, or if that vision was just for her? Since we're doing this thing where Pennywise visions don't always show up to other people.
Right? I'm still confused about that. I think it was just Marge. Marge saw the worm eyes. That's it. And then Lily must have realized, oh man, my friend is seeing the thing that scares us. I guess. I don't know, Scott. It's moments like this where I think about what happened I'm like, what the hell? What was that?
Well, I think the one thing I'm gonna say about the show is just like, you know, we've talked about a lot of things I haven't liked and some things I have liked and the frustrations I have. Like, the one thing that I think is just like objectively bad storytelling is I feel like they set up these cliffhangers in these episodes and then they don't ever pay them off in a satisfying way in the next episode. Like, like I actually like the moment where everyone busts in and Lily is standing over Marge. Like, that is a moment where you are specifically calling on Lily's fear, and you as our audience are made to go like, oh shit, this again. And then like we just yada yada over it in the next episode. I mean, we did the same thing with her being sent to Juniper Hill in that one episode. Is just like, okay, she's out now. Don't worry about it. And it just feels like we set up these moments for this, and then we're fine. It's fine. We just move on. It's like a sitcom episode where everything's back to normal in the next one, so we can do the next bit of the plot. So I just don't. I understand the need for cliffhangers in television, like, and I like cliffhangers. I enjoy them. They're fun. But the cliffhanger that I think is the most effective is one that not just has a gasp moment at the end of it, but actually like serves to change your understanding of how everything's going to work going forward. And when you don't pay it off in a way, I don't know. I just kind of feel I'm left feeling like, oh, okay, fine, sure, I guess.
Right? That is how I feel with these writers. Like, we're just, okay, guys. Okay, we're just gonna lump all your decisions. Okay, sure. Whatever, sure. That needs to be the new doof merch. Whatever, sure.
What is going on with the security at this Air Force base that a 12-year-old child can just leave the Air Force base and nobody stops him whatsoever?
Well, Will is super smart and really crafty and good at science, so he wiggled right out. I don't know, Scott. Clearly, they have issues. But I love Will. He does no wrong in my eyes.
Yeah, I loved him. So I thought so I like the actress who plays Lily. I think there are some actors amongst these kids that are better than her, and I feel bad like critiquing the acting of children because they're children. I feel weird doing that. I did not care for the anchor or lifeboat speech. I didn't like any of that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not true. I did like the part where Rich goes, lifeboat? He doesn't really know. And then I like the part where Will showed up after everyone has already chosen, and he's like huffing because he sprinted all the way there. And he's just like, what did I miss? And Rich says, nothing good. I like that part.
I also like when they bring Margie to the top of the standpipe and Ronnie's like, what's she doing here? This patty cake. And she goes, X. And it's like super tween girl angst, their inflections. It's so great. It's so cute.
But by the way, this is a complete transition, but we did learn, speaking of the military stupid plan, that their plan literally is to just capture Pennywise and drop him. Because he specifically says, General Saw, imagine if we had dropped something like this on the Pusan perimeter in 51, which was a very big, prolonged, one of the first big engagements of the Korean War, where the North Koreans were pushing heavily into South Korea. It was very bloody, prolonged battle. Lots and lots of people died. So I joked about them dropping Pennywise on Moscow and calling it a day, but his plan is literally just we're gonna drop this thing onto a battlefield and just be like, all right, that solves the problem. Here's the problem with this plan, General. This is why you're never gonna get 4 stars, by the way, General, because this is terrible. Pennywise goes to sleep every 27 years, so he's only active for a year and a half, and he only kills 25 people during that time, right? We saw the stats when the Native American tribe was reading them. This is not you're not going to drop him into Korea and he's just going to be like, all right, I'm gonna kill all these North Koreans. No, he's probably just gonna post up and I don't know, spook some people, eat some fear, and then just take a nap. And now the North Koreans will have him. Good thinking.
At best, he'll maybe, I don't know, a dozen, baker's dozen of some victims, and then a nice 30-year nap. Great plan, General Shaw.
But to be fair, again, I am not critiquing the show, right? I think it is clear at this point, it's 5 episodes in, the show is fully aware that this is a dumb plan and is leaning into the idea that this is really dumb and doesn't make any sense. And it's great. It's ridiculous. It's silly. I don't think it's the right story to tell in your It prologue, but sure, whatever.
I like it. I like it a lot. What are we going to do?
Can I tell you one other thing that irrationally upset me in this episode?
Absolutely.
Leroy and Polly wandering through the sewers. They just take off their helmets and they just drop their helmets in the water and just leave them. Those cost money. That's your tax dollars, Kim.
Oh, God damn it. I mean, I missed that. And now that you're telling me, I'm mad about it. Because why? Why, Scott?
Well, because the action shot with Paulie going, earn this, would not have been as effective if he had his helmet on.
That's true.
Yeah.
This is true.
We got to
Yeah,
get we got to get those close-ups, and helmets just get in the way. So
you
yeah.
right. You right.
They just dropped them in the water, and you see Leroy's helmet just float away. It's probably like $50 worth of helmet. I don't actually know how much those helmets cost, but knowing the military, it was probably a lot.
Probably a lot. It is
So
shocking what they do and how expensive it is. Scott, I have a huge thing that I want to talk about. I don't know about huge, but I do need the listeners' help. So this is all hands on deck, everybody. I need everybody's brain power. Okay. So I don't know if you noticed. I also watched this one 3 times. We have the color yellow all over this episode, Scott. Did you notice that?
I did not.
Okay. Okay, Scott, this is huge. And so I have a personal hypothesis in the Stephen King world that the color yellow is associated with villains or evil. For example, Brady Hartsfield from Mr. Mercedes with a yellow smiley face, and Jim Dooley wears a yellow slicker from Lacey's story, and then et cetera, et cetera. I think it's in a lot of places. Well, in the It universe, I would like to ask the listeners out there, what do you guys think it means? Because in this episode specifically, we have the yellow curtains inside the tribal meeting. Firstly, the first yellow we have is Maddie crawls out of a yellow tent.
Oh, yeah.
Yellow tent. Tribal meeting, we have the yellow vest of the speaking tribal elder, and then there's yellow curtains behind him. Then the kids at the standpipe, Lily's skirt is yellow. Ronnie's shirt is yellow. Then when they are putting Hank into the Shawshank prison bus and Charlotte is there, she's wearing a full yellow suit.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go to the Hanlon's kitchen, which has always been yellow, but it's really yellow and super yellow. And so it's all over the dang place in this episode. And so I want to ask the listeners what you guys think it means. What do you think it's connected to? Is it innocence because we're only seeing innocence, or we're only seeing it on people who are, for the most part, on the light side? I mean, in the It Chapter 1 film, we've got, of course, Georgie and the yellow rain slicker, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering what you guys out there think, because I don't know. I genuinely could go a lot of different directions with it. But if you rewatch the episode, Scott, it is wild how much yellow there is. And I'm thinking to myself, is it just a yellow filter they're using to make everything look real pretty? And it's working. Everything looks great.
Mm.
Is it just that? Also, is it something or is it nothing? That's my question. Is it nothing or is it something?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely true no matter what, that like every choice made on a set is an intentional choice. Like
right.
they didn't, like someone made the decision to make the tent yellow. Now whether that was part of like a larger like color theme they're doing like thematically or just like a general color theme of like, this is what we want Derry to look like, and we're going to use these colors more specifically and in these ways. I have no idea. I think it's a really fun theory, and like, I mean, that's one of the things I love about filmmaking is all this stuff comes with intention one way or the other. Whether it's the intention the way you interpret it or not, it comes with intention, and I think that lends credence to the idea that your intentionality for it is as valid as the set department and all that stuff. So no, I did not catch that, but I mean, I was counting them in my head as you went through, and yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. It's all over the place for sure.
I love it. It really brings this episode to life when you have it in mind. So if you go and like fast forward through it, you're like, oh my God. So I really like what they're doing with that, if it is something. And I think you're right. I think it's got to be something. There is intentionality with every frame. And so that also sinks my cranky ship of thinking the writers are dumb, because I do. But this would negate that. This would give them a little bit more credit and say maybe there's something else a brewing, and yeah. I am just a doubtful Dottie over here.
I mean, it is an especially interesting choice in a universe that is so heavily like framed by the color red. Like it is like the red balloon, the red makeup, like just the color red in it is so dominant and important. And so the idea that we're specifically highlighting other colors, um and very very different colors, I think is it's really making my brain turn here.
I am also so glad you mentioned the red, Scott, because the one or two areas of red that I remember when Hank is getting on board the Shawshank bus, the guy who charges at him, one of the kids' dads, red shirt,
Yep.
bright red shirt. Then, when the military is in the sewers, they have red flashlights
Yeah, it's
attached.
infrared. Yeah, yeah.
The infrared. Later on, with the kids, their flashlight beams are bright yellow.
Oh yeah.
It's
That's
just
great.
wild. It's so cool. And so I'm like, you guys got to be cooking with gas with this. Like something's a brewing.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think the flashlight thing is definitely like I noticed the red on their flashlights for sure. And I just like filed that away without really thinking about it. But no, I mean, like red is such a charged color in this universe for sure. So yeah, to draw that comparison, they are very like contrasting colors, right? And so it really really draws out that. I like that. I like that a lot. I'll
Me
have to pay attention
too.
to that in the next episodes for sure.
Yeah, dudes, I think that colors are there's something cooking with them. I
Yeah.
noticed them in episode 3 with the patty cakes, and there's some cool stuff going on with colors, but to the episode 5, it's like whoa, they're really getting our attention.
Yeah.
So I'm excited with whatever theories can float around here with this, or if we see more things happen with it.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're doing things. They're doing a lot of backgrounded stuff there. I mean, obviously we've talked about the turtle stuff. Like one thing I do, as much as I was rolling my eyes at it, I do like about the matter and charm on her bracelet is it is backgrounded in a way that like the shot, with the exception of like the first time she got it, the shot never like holds on it specifically. It's always something else, and that just happens to be in the background. And I like the subtlety of it there. This is why I'm hoping we never like specifically say, no, you've been under my protection the whole time. Look at your bracelet. Like I just hope we don't do anything like that. I also have been noticing. So one thing that the Muschietis have done with the concept of the deadlights is they've very specifically made the deadlights be like 3 kind of swirling orbs, right? 3 swirling lights. And I've been paying attention in the background of a lot of scenes. It's using the concept of 3 lights pretty regularly. Like at dinner tables, a lot of times the overhead lights are 3 lights looking down. I can't think of any other examples right off the bat, but I definitely remember seeing them of they're doing a lot of backgrounded stuff, a lot where they're using their production design to also like tell the story, which is what all television and movies do. But I think they're doing it very specifically here in certain ways. And so I just fully believe the idea that the color choices are mattering, just like the number of lights we're going to show in a given scene, number of overhead lights we're going to have in this given scene is important in some way.
I love that about the lights. I hadn't noticed that. Okay, that makes me more excited. I love where's Waldoing anything. So I love I love that. I'm going to do that going forward because I have been consistently watching each episode 3 times. 2 full times with complete attention, and then the third time is like I'm in and out. But I really really like that. Okay, there's stuff to hunt for. I like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. They still have not called themselves the Children of Maturin, though, which I still am like, actress who plays Rose. Why did you say that?
Why did you say that? Scott, why?
So I did not watch the trailer for next week's episode, but I did do the after show little like 5-minute blurb on this one. And Muschietti said the funniest fucking thing in the world in that one. So I mean, if you recall earlier in the show, we made fun of the concept of Leroy having a damaged amygdala, and how that how that made him like super powered, and that's like the reason he's here, right? Um, and then so in this moment, like Leroy is attacked. He's attacked by Pennywise. He shows up as his wife, and his wife then does the scrambly rawr thing and attacks him, and he shoots her in the head. And in the after show thing, what Andy Muschietti says, even though Leroy is medically a fearless man, he's actually not. Oh. Okay. So
Thanks, Andy.
that's just done. We're just not, that's like, everyone was just mistaken. We had this whole moment where Dick like read his mind and said like you didn't like what was going on in your head when someone held a gun to you was not like any other person I've ever actually seen. You're totally different. Okay. But no, they were just mistaken. The doctors were wrong.
Whoops.
Cause like, okay, so I guess again, and trying to be as charitable as possible, I guess you could make the argument that the reason why it shows up as Charlotte for Leroy is because it can't find a thing he's scared of. Because the weird part about that scene is it doesn't make sense based on how we know it like manifests, right? He's supposed to detect your fear, and then he transforms into the thing you're afraid of, almost to a point in the books, by the way, where it doesn't even control it. Where like one of the plot elements of the books is that belief makes Pennywise weak. So like if he turns into a werewolf, he is now weak to silver bullets, because werewolves are weak to because if you believe that he is a werewolf and you also believe the weakness in werewolves, then you will that exposes him to weakness that he didn't have earlier, which is a really fascinating little beat to the plot that I really enjoyed in the book. But anyway, so he just shows up as Charlotte, just like, and it's just weird that Charlotte is down in the sewer, and that's like, it's not Charlotte doing anything. Like, I guess you could argue maybe like his greatest fear is having to shoot his wife in the head, that's weird. I gotta say, my greatest fear is not having to shoot my wife in her head, because I don't think I would ever get in a situation where I have to shoot my wife in the head. So like, I guess maybe we could say this is the amygdala factor, that Pennywise can't show up as something that scares Leroy. So he's just like, okay, I'm just going to manifest as your wife to confuse you. I mean, really what it is just establishing that it's weird to see your kid. So when he sees his son later, he just thinks it's Pennywise and just opened fire, because we're leading up to the whole moment that we constructed beforehand and we're having to build back to. Like, that's the real reason for it. But I'm trying to give them credit for this and say, was this an amygdala thing? Is that why Charlotte is here?
Building backwards with Bob the Builder. You're right. That's probably the best example of just, okay, let's just patch job this. What is it? And it's Castle of Otranto, or no, it's the Poe one where he locks him in. It's from Flanagan's Wake.
Oh, the Cask of Amontillado.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's actually pronounced Amontillado. I'm just guessing on that. But yeah, that's when he bricks him in.
Bricks him in. That's how they did this sequence. They just they bricked the story in until we just have to scratch our head with the whole. There are so many really large potholes that kind of get bigger with each episode, and we just have to hopscotch around them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the hard part about the show. We don't focus on how big the pothole's getting, but it's still there. It's still there. And we have to sort of jump around it. And we focus on other things that are lovely flowers growing and these wonderful actor performances. And then the other strengths. But yeah, like the Leroy thing, the military thing, these are just big, big, big issues.
It's just weird to me that, like, I mean, we have 3 episodes left. There's plenty of time to play off this whole superpowered amygdala thing in a way that's ultimately satisfying and earns itself from being introduced into the story. But if we don't do that, it just seems like, again, the writing like working too hard to explain something that didn't need to be explained. Like, because the argument here is if it doesn't pay off anymore, like if the next 3 episodes we don't do anything with that, then it was literally just something created to get Leroy to Derry. right? Because that's the reason why the general wanted him here, because he's the perfect counter to Pennywise. But like, I don't think you needed that. Just like have him
No.
just be transferred to Derry, like, and then like he's well known and well regarded, and so the general wants him on special projects, and like I feel like you're putting a hat on a hat a little bit too much there. Like, it didn't need an additional argument or explanation for it. But maybe, I mean, but this is after episode 5, right? Episode 6, we could have a whole amygdala moment, and we could be like, oh, this is why, and I fully like not every time, but a lot of times over the course of these 5 episodes, when we had these moments of like, well, why are we doing it this way? We have eventually got it. Oh, okay, that's why. And so I don't know, maybe this will be another one.
I hope so. I am cautiously optimistic. I hope so. I really do. Because this episode was really encouraging. I was in a good mood. I felt happy. I enjoyed our plot twist because you gave me a popcorn thrill ride moment, and
Sure.
I had some good surprises. So as the viewer, I felt really good. And that's because I didn't see it coming and I wasn't questioning your decisions as writers. And so I'm hoping we get more of that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Ultimately, I liked the episode, and I'm continuing to like the show. Right? I mean, I'm in sure whatever mode, and it's going to carry me through the next 3 weeks, and I think that's going to carry me to the promised land as we defeat it or not. Or how is okay? That's a good question for you as we wrap up. How is this going to end? I mean, like, the things we know, right, is the black spot is going to burn down and people are going to die. Like, we know that has to happen. But like, there has to be a climax of everything we're doing with our characters, like beyond that, right? That is a set known event. What can they do to wrap up like the story?
This is a great question. I genuinely don't know, Scott, because oh my gosh, I think it's so I don't know, pass. Come back to me because it's hard. It's hard to think about what direction where they're going to go to go backwards, right? Because we're going to go back to 1935 for the next season. So in theory, I have a feeling they could probably end it with an anticlimactically. They could just sort of have Leroy Hanlon be forever changed, be a bitter, frightened man that's who we see in It Chapter 1 as Mike's grandpa. So I don't know. We could see the fracturing of the Hanlon family. We could see Derry get really, really ugly. I foresee it ending badly.
I don't know how it can't. This is the weird thing about doing a prequel in this whole story, is that like it kind of has to. I mean, one weird thing, one open question that you could have is, in this story, we now have Leroy Hanlon has been told everything essentially about it. He understands it more than perhaps any other adult in the novel ever has outside of our Losers Club. He has to stay in Derry. Why on earth would he do that? Right? Like, the show is going to have to give a character-driven reason for, once all this thing ends, once this whole government plot blows up in their face, which it will invariably do. Why is Leroy Hanlon going to keep his family in Derry?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah. I mean, like that they make that same argument to the Hanlons in the book, right? There's I think a moment where Mike talks to his father and his grandfather about like with all the racism and all the stuff, even after the black spot, like, why did you stick around? And they had some complicated reasons for it, but like, they in the frame of that story were not aware that there was a monster clown that comes out every 27 years and murders children. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think ultimately the show will give us that. I'm just curious what it will end up being.
Me too. I wish I could. I feel like I should know the answer, but I've been whatever suring for a while now that I really just like, I don't know what they're gonna do. Who knows? But like you said, it has to go bad. It
Yeah.
has to be sad and tragic. I, however, would lose it with joy if we see a bird. I really want a scary black bird to somehow insert itself into the Hamlin storyline. If we get a black bird, I'm gonna lose it, Scott.
I would love that. We need that. I also want to see if anything happens with the standpipe, because like the stand, like the fact that their club is at the standpipe is such, it's a fun, we talked about this in the first episode, where it's a fun place to stage this, but it's also filled with the tension of the fact that it's at the standpipe and we know exactly what happens at the standpipe. So I wonder if they do anything with that ultimately. I don't know if there'll be room for that, but that would be cool. And then I think, I mean, the government, the thing I'm curious about is, does the government plan fail because the black spot happens and the cycle ends, or do they just get, a quarter of the way to their goal and then invariably trip and fail? Like, I think that's the big question, is like, are we ever going to find the pillars actually?
Oh, no. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I don't think they're going to focus on the lore because they haven't been thus far. They've been throwing it out in a giant chum bucket, and then we get a little bit of it, and then we move on. We seem to, because what the hell happened with the beacons? I'm still asking questions about those.
My theory with that is that when they said beacons in the beginning, what they meant was pillars, and they just used a different word. So I've decided, what we thought after the second episode, wherever it was, that what they were doing is they were digging for artifacts of significance to Derry's past, right? Because we saw the Brady gang car, and it was like, oh, that's what they're doing, is like, these are elements and symbols of previous cycles, and we will use our special Dick Halloran power to use those to triangulate where Pennywise is. I think ultimately where I stand in episode 5 is they were just looking for the pillars, and they were just digging randomly around Derry looking for the pillars, because Shaw knew that there were pillars. He was told this, but he didn't, of course, doesn't know where and how to find them. And so he's just spent the last year and a half just randomly digging around town, occasionally saying, hey, Dick, you got any feels over here? Yeah. And then it's just a car. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, that wasn't what we were looking for. Maybe, I mean, they took apart the car and there's no pillar in there.
I think you're right. And it's just so wrong. Why?
I think I'm with you though. Like, as we go into the 3-episode climax of, like, the things I'm most curious about is how they end this in a way that feels satisfying while also still being tragic, while also like feeling like we get closure for our characters, and a way that builds to going back in time, because that's going to be really interesting how this works.
Right.
Are they going, like, I think this is a question we asked after the very first episode. Are they going to try to tell one story across 3 seasons? Or are they going to make these truly anthologies where each period only relates in the smallest possible way to the one that came before it, which is technically in the future? I don't know. Obviously the thing that unlocked the first season for them was military pillars. That's like was the driving force of it. And also, we're going to have kids do the thing in 1935. Are we going to have kids do the thing? And also, what else, right? You need another thing. You need another hook. You need, like, I don't know. I do not envy these people's, I mean, maybe it's just the Bradley gang. They make them like kind of central characters of the season. And we do some interesting plot lines with them and arcs with them that culminate in their getting shot up big time. I don't know.
I wouldn't hate it. I love me some John Dillinger action. I think it would be cool.
Yeah.
Did you see, Scott, this might have been like early rumblings and previews where there's like fog slash mist in Derry. Did you see any of that?
I saw a trailer. Like a trailer for when the show first came out, that we'd see a bunch of mist hit Derry. And that's really interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
we've established this government organization. Because I remember seeing that trailer, and then in the first episode we saw like the special projects division, and this is before I knew special projects meant searching for Pennywise in order to capture him and throw him at the Cold War. And so I just assumed it was like interdimensional shenanigans, and we were going to go mist. So I do wonder what that, like, where that comes from, if that's not what we're doing.
Samesies. And if they ended it with the mist creatures coming out and attacking Derry, I'd be all about it. I would love it. I think it would be great.
I mean, I'd have to sure whatever it, because like it's like, I mean, honestly, that's the thing that I think that's ultimately what sure whatever represents, is that like, this is not it. This is not like, this is just, I think you said fan fiction earlier in the episode, and I think that's perfect. This is just Derry fan fiction. That's all it is. Yep. And if we want to throw the Mist and Project Arrowhead or whatever it was called into Derry, our Derry fan fiction, sure, whatever. Write some good characters and I'll be there. So yeah.
I like it. I think if anybody out there is struggling with the show, just call it fan fiction and sure, whatever. It's going to get easier. It'll be a lot more fun.
Yeah. Remember Neibolt House?
I do.
It looks like a cartoon house to me.
It does.
It's so absurd that they've leaned like, and by the way, I felt this in It Chapter 1 as well, that like, I think even in that, like, there's all these houses on the streets that just look like normal houses. And it's not like Neibolt House is just like a normal house, but run down a little bit. It's just like a cartoon monster house. It's like someone turned the dial to 11. And I mean, it's delightful. This is like, I think what I'm really getting at here is this is a very silly show, and it's a silly show in a lot of different ways. Children are popping pills and getting high and holding hands. Pennywise is like full charge and then freezing in his teeth out face for like 16 seconds as his eyes look down. Like, that's so fucking silly. And this house looks so fucking silly. And Ingrid Kirsch has like the worst bangs I've ever seen on a human being. That's not related to the other stuff, but it's
they messed up their wardrobe.
Is she wearing a wig? I think she's wearing a wig. I think I think this is bad wig watch, and I don't know if it's because they had to pick up filming later and she had a different hairstyle, because I don't remember her hair being bad in like the episode 2 when we met her. But maybe it's just I don't like bangs, because I don't like bangs. But her hair in this episode looks just awful.
Bangs are hard to work with. They really are. It's a slippery slope, and this is a cautionary tale for any person who would like to have some fringe. Don't do Ingrid style, please. This is rough.
Yeah, and I think Madeline Stowe is a gorgeous woman who's, by the way, 67 years old, if you can believe it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like fine wine.
But man, it's either a bad wig or they just said you got to get bangs for this, Madeline, and that's not good.
Yeah, let's cut your hair in the dark with dull scissors, and then that'll be the look.
It's funny. I showed it to my wife because I was trying to get her perspective on whether I was just crazy or if these bangs were bad, and she agreed. But the thing she pointed out when she walked over was, in that same scene, Lily is in the scene too. And Lily has bangs as well, but they're like slanted. They're not like cut straight. They're like at an angle. And she picked that up immediately, and I never even noticed that. Maybe that was just a style of the 60s. I don't even know.
Oh, good call. I'll have to look. I missed that. I just thought everybody has fugly bangs. we got some questionable hair choices, but that's okay because the clothes are on point. That's what's important. Yeah. The clothes are on fleek.
I don't think we've said that enough so far in these 5 episodes. I think they are doing a very good job at making the show period. It
Yes.
is it definitely feels like the 60s in look, in, we talked about the yellow, but just like the color grading of the show, the props, the set decoration, every bit of it I think is doing a very good job at channeling 1962. I think they're doing a phenomenal job there. Like, you can see the HBO money on display
Yes.
for sure.
That is such a winning factor for me, because if it didn't look as good as it did, oh dear, Mr. Daly, I would not. I would be much crankier. I think aesthetics are a huge thing, and it's the immersion of the viewer, and I feel fully immersed, and I like that.
It makes me very excited for 1930s gangsters and what the show does with that
Oh,
aesthetic.
I'm excited. And then next week, in theory, we'll see Mr. Bob Gray, who's early 1900s.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. The title of next week's episode is In the Name of the Father. So I
Deep.
think
Mein Vater.
Yeah, I think we're getting some Bob Gray, and maybe we'll learn a little bit about Ingrid and her. I hope I'm right on the reluctant. I would be a little disappointed, not just because I would be wrong, but just like I am much more invested in the character as this complicated person than just she's just working for Daddy Pennywise and is just unquestionably evil. Would be a little disappointing.
Speaking of Daddy, quick tangent, Mr. Daly. Okay, so I accidentally watched the new Crow remake
Oh God.
with Bill Skarsgård. It's not great. However, there are commendable things. And what I will say is I've never really been attracted to Mr. Skarsgård. I think his brothers are very attractive. His family, his genetic line is very pleasing to me. But he himself, I always associated him with Pennywise. So I'm like, yikes, ew, no. Well, if anybody out there wants to really complicate your Pennywise feelings, I recommend checking out the Crow remake, which came out, oh gosh, I don't know, 2023, 2024?
It was 24. Yeah.
It has FKA Twigs. It's not great, but he's so hot. Scott, he is so on fire hot. He is, I mean, everybody, he will be in your spank bank, okay? And I want this for everybody. I think I want you guys to watch it. He is so attractive. He's so good looking. And so I am a little sad in my heart that next week, Mr. Daly, we are going to see Bob Gray, who's like unattractive. Cuz Pennywise is so much fun, and it's bottom line, I'm in a complicated spot from having seen Bill Skarsgård covered in tattoos and glistening with rain. It's just, I think I want somebody out there to watch it and see if if it happens to you, if you too have complicated feelings now. Anyway, total tangent. So we're gonna see Bob Gray next week.
Yeah. I am interested to see how this works out, because like that is there's a chance that they really annoy me with this stuff, because like Bob Gray in the book was just like another name that Pennywise gave himself, and like I'm interested in what they're doing here ultimately with it, because like Ingrid Kirsch is a real person.
Right.
I am utterly convinced of this, that Ingrid is not just like a long game Pennywise disguise, kind of like Maddie was. I think Ingrid Kirsch is just a real human being. We saw her as a child back in 1908 or whenever that was, and this is the grown-up version of her. And Lily does not know that she's Periwinkle, and that we're gonna have a reveal there. But if that is true, then when Mrs. Kirsch is talking about my father, mein Vater, like that is Bob Gray, and is Bob Gray going to be Pennywise? Like how that is going to work out? Is it just going to be as boring as like he was just this clown guy, and then Pennywise killed him, and for whatever reason, like really liked being him, and just
Right.
like took on that. I just hope they don't like overwrite the connection there, because again, like we talked about this at the beginning, like the reason why Pennywise is a clown is because kids like clowns, or they did before Stephen King wrote this book, and then he single-handedly demolished the clown industry for all time. I don't know. We'll see. I could see a way that they overwrite this, but I could also see a way in which this makes me fall in love with the show. So I will see.
I hope so. I hope they do something cool with it. As a fellow child of the 90s, did you ever go to a birthday party with a clown when you were younger? Was that a thing?
Never.
I feel like that was a thing for kids our age.
I feel like it was, but I don't know if it was. I just feel that way because like that was a thing I saw on television and movies all the time, that birthdays had clowns. I don't think I've ever been to a clown birthday in my life.
Okay.
But also in the year 1990, I snuck out of my bedroom and hid behind my parents' couch and watched the It miniseries without them knowing it, and was deathly afraid of clowns for years after that. So I would not have encouraged anyone to get a clown at their birthday party. So I don't know.
Man, the original 1990 mini, I mean, the gateway for so many people. That series is so incredible for what it did to people.
I need to ask my parents if they knew I was there, because like there's no way I was as sneaky as I think I was.
Oh,
but the scene that I saw, one of the scenes, I still remember. I was 5 years old. It is when Ben is in the library and it is standing above him on the banister, talking down to him, and that scene in the miniseries, that's the one I watched hiding behind my parents' couch. And I don't even think anything like particularly scary happens in that one. It just was like I was just catching up on the vibe of the miniseries, which is, this is creepy and I should be made to feel uncomfortable by this. And I sure did.
That's a good one. I don't remember how old I was because I didn't read Stephen King till my mid-20s, but I do remember seeing the part where Stan kills himself in the bath and his wife goes upstairs. It lived rent-free in my brain for years when it's all steamy and she goes upstairs and then you see it written in blood.
Yep.
That haunted my days for years upon years. I think and I think about it now and it's like, oh, that was the little seed that got planted as it did for so many others.
Oh man, I was way too young.
Same.
Of course, my dad showed me Aliens when I was like 6, so, you know.
Oh my God.
We just kind of do whatever. It's a wild time.
I think it shapes people. I think that you're exposed and it's terrifying and then you grow to love it. It's like eating spicy foods, I guess.
I think you're right.
You're like, this is really painful and hot and bad. I love it.
I think that is a perfect note to end the episode on. It's very painful and hot and bad. But we love it. Welcome to Derry.
We do. Sort of.
I mean, despite everything, despite all the sure whatevering of it, I am finding myself enjoying the show. And the parts of it that I like, I really do like. So
yes. Yeah, I had a great time with this one. I like way more than I dislike, which is good.
3 to go. I can't believe we've been doing this 5 weeks already. Can you believe it? It's
gone
by really fast.
It has. It has flown by. It has been such a delight.
Yeah. So 3 more, and then we'll wrap it up. I almost got Matt on board. Almost.
Oh my goodness. Dr. Freeman, hi.
We'll see. I hope him to finish it in time. Maybe spend some of his winter break catching up so he can catch us out on the overview episode. Because I'm sure he's going to come on here and just be like, this is the best show I've ever seen. I loved it. No complaints whatsoever. Sounds like Matt.
Oh man. If that happened, I'd be struck silent.
All right, folks. That is it for us this week on the show. Next week, we're back. Episode 6, the penultimate. What is the episode before the penultimate called?
Oh,
is that the term?
I think so. It escapes me at this moment.
It is called the anti-penultimate.
Oh,
there we go.
Excellent.
The anti-penultimate episode of It Welcome to Derry Season 1, Episode 6, titled In the Name of the Father. I like this. Obviously, this is a reference to Kirsch, and like we talked about, I wonder if we're going to do anything religious with it, because obviously this is the...
Ooh.
I don't
Good
know.
call.
I don't know where that would be. I mean, unless we're going to go the religious angle with Kirsch as well. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see.
Good call.
Yeah.
Maybe Xeno Jesus will join.
I hope he comes back. That would be the greatest callback in the history of television. I'd be so happy.
I wouldn't hate it. I'd be like, welcome, sweet angel.
All right, Kim, where on the internet can people find you when they're not listening to this wonderful show we're doing?
Oh, you can find me on The Year of Underrated Stephen King. I'm all over Spotify. You can find me anywhere you get your podcasts. And then you can also jump on over to my Patreon, The Dance Macabre with Kim C, which is patreon.com/dance with Kim C, dance with an S. And I am covering all sorts of Stephen King shorter morsels over there. It's a good time. But yeah, I would love to... You could also say hi at underratedsk@gmail if you want traditional Gmail. I will respond to you promptly, as I'm always grading. I'm always online. So say hi sometime.
Great. And I think you just did an episode on Running Man, which I haven't listened to yet because I haven't watched the film yet. But I'm anxious to catch the movie and listen to what you thought of it.
Yay, it's fun. Oh, you'll really like it, Scott. It is a delight.
Great. You can find me over at the podcast I'm currently doing with Matt right now, Flanagan's Wake. We are, I believe, episode 6 of that. We record those like a week and a half in advance, so it always like does a number on my head on which one is coming out soon. But I believe episode 6 of The Haunting of Bly Manor is out this week, which means we're going to almost be wrapping up Bly Manor at the same time you and I wrap up it. Welcome to Derry. So that'll be fun.
Cool.
And yeah, you can reach out to us. We still check the Kingslingers email. So if you want to just email us, kingslingerspod@gmail.com. We did get a couple emails from some listeners this week offering some theories and some, we got a +1 on your Temu Pennywise joke. Kim, people really loved that one.
Yay!
But that is going to do it for us this week. We'll be back anti-penultimate next week. Until then, long days and pleasant nights.
And may you have twice the number.